Rogues, fans, shoe bandits, let's chat about Survivor 49. We've had 2 blindsides, 2 episodes, and episode 3 is on the horizon. So let's hope I don't talk about the episode 3 boot because that would be embarrassing. I've been on podcasts, I've been making community polls, and today I will come up with the definitive top 5 Survivor contestants to take the crown. He may not be Captain America, but so far in terms of threat management, Nate is the Iron Man. Something we're going to be discussing a lot is strong personal content, which entails contestants discussing their life back at home and how it pertains to their position within Survivor. This is key in humanizing contestants and has formed a consistent staple for winners within determining the edgic. Edgic means the melding of words edit plus logic. We already know a lot about Nate. He's a filmmaker who is being under the radar about his successes, with solid content about how that will be successful regarding island life on Survivor. Add on to this, Nate has a lot of screen time on island and in the confessional booth, and a consistent presence without being overbearing means his stocks are definitely growing like Ant-Man. But only one half of edgic is the edit. Well, yes, this video isn't hardcore edgic, don't worry. The mechanisms associated with it definitely determine the top 5 of this video. You see, next is logic, which is slightly more shaky ground for this Hulk, but still mostly good. Nate seems to be in the middle of the tribe, whilst fairly consistently being brought up about being in groups of 4, which is the majority of a 6-person pre-merge tribe. In fact, it's been fairly well established over the course of the episodes. Both Juwan and Sage seem lower on him in the pecking order, which, considering Uli's strong challenge showing thus far, should be enough to tide him over until the merge. Also due to the idle mechanics requiring a tribe to lose, and that being the same as the non-swap Survivor 46, I don't think we have to worry about Nate being a shocking swap screwed boot. The only thing is that Nate is starting to get the age divide content on his tribe, bringing up not having the lingo of us young ones down, as well as not fitting into the clique. This is definitely the most worrying part of Nate's content, especially considering John had the exact same worries 2 seasons prior, only for him to be the first boot of his tribe in 47. Nate, however, has such good supporting content that I'm hoping this content is similar more so to the likes of Julie and Maria, who use their age to provide a useful dynamic to their alliance in juxtaposition to any deficit. Even this most recent episode, Riz refers to Nate as a father figure, showing his comparatively older age has value. But more on Riz later, by the way. So while I would love to marvel at Nate's positioning, I unfortunately have to move on. I'm going to be honest, the Hina tribe sucks. The complex tribe theory was an early theory established in Survivor, wherein the tribe that had the overall more complex tribe dynamics, with the showcasing of their more intricate dynamics, would likely bear the winner. That makes sense. Modern Survivor seems to have somewhat evolved the concept into the editing of the 3-tribe format to Trainwreck Tribe, weirdly over-edited tribe that doesn't visit tribal much, and then the tribe that we get barely anything of. I'll give you one guess which Hina is. Most of the Hina contestants are massive unknowns. The 2 contestants thus far to get 0 confessionals also have been on Hina, Jason and Christina, which is also seen as a massive no-no for winner odds in the 90-minute episodic format. But Steven is pretty much the only viable winner on the tribe. Matt, I feel, is too villainous. MC has too few confessionals. And who's she again? Steven feels like he is being shoved down our throats, which is offset by his comparatively low confessional count at 6, 2 episodes in, which is very respectable for a winner trajectory. Not too big of a number, and not too Sandman. Sorry, the Marvel part of the script ended minutes ago. Nevertheless, a part of the reason why it feels like we know so much about Steven, in spite of a relatively modest confessional count, is what is known in the fandom as SPV. SPV stands for second person viewpoint, where a contestant is talked about by their peers. You can have a negative SPV, like we see from MC talking about Matt, or in Steven's case, a positive SPV. On a tribe with villains, mischief, and swing votes, Steven is constantly talked about as a valuable number for pretty much everyone. Everyone trusts trust Steven, and particularly in the premiere, lots of people's content revolved around just loving Steven, which in a social game like Survivor is often half the battle. Even in episode 2, in the Hina content revolving around MC not trusting Matt's 4-person alliance, she specifically mentions, after stating she doesn't trust Matt, that she does love Steven. Why? It was completely unnecessary, and it's not like we're drowning for any Steven positivity anymore. If production are going to go on with a winner that has a by the numbers winner edit, but with a slightly toned down presentation, Steven, I feel, fits the bill pretty well. His edit is largely faultless and feels in line with other Golden Boy winner early episodes. The only issue is that the back note of him being from clearly the most underdeveloped tribe. It's a feat that isn't impossible to come back from. Erica infamously won despite being on the least complex tribe, but it is something that could ground Steven from taking off. But you know what's better than being Steven? Being anywhere you want to be at the click of a button. You see, as a UK YouTuber covering an American reality TV show, I get asked 2 main questions. Number 1 is why I mispronounce all my words, and for that it's an accent. And number 2 is how I'm able to access all these American, South African, and Australian reality TV shows if I'm not from that country. And that is because of the power of Nord, who is kindly affiliating with me to tell you about their VPN service. NordVPN is a secure, fast VPN with a strict no-log policy, meaning you can be from the UK and you can see things from America, essentially making you an honorary American. And it says to do an American accent in the script. I'm not doing that. I can't afford to get cancelled. NordVPN has also thousands of servers worldwide, high-speed LORN links technology, and helps keep your online activity private, which is handy if you want to rewatch Survivor Island of the Idols and not get found out and slagged off by your mates. It encrypts your internet traffic to protect you on public Wi-Fi, helps you safely access streaming content from anywhere, and shields you from malware and trackers with features like Threat Protection Pro and Dark Web Monitor. It also prevents you from phishing, and I'm not talking about the kind Rupert Boneham does. So whether you want more privacy, security, or freedom online, NordVPN gives you peace of mind, and you can try it risk-free with their 30-day money-back guarantee. If venturing into the jungle of an internet with Nord sounds good, then click on my affiliate link below, and if not, let's get back to the video. Without NordVPN, your IP might be unprotected, but in the edit, Rizzo is definitely being protected right now. He has definitely had opportunities in the past 2 episodes where he could be dunked on by production, but opportunities too, like him feeling the puzzle, are quickly usurped to showcase his out-of-the-box thinking. Much like Nate, Rizzo has a phenomenal amount of personal content for only being 2 episodes in. As much as Nate being a father figure, and that content does help him, it mostly helps Rizzo. The scene was predominantly narrated by him, and referring to Nate as his father figure comes from his perspective. After winning the Journey reward, we also get introduced to his background, which is something production could have easily skimmed over. Instead, we get some sympathetic backstory, learning about his parents coming to America and working hard so that he could achieve in life. Earlier I talked about the non-complexity of the Hina tribe, but Uli is the tribe that production could have purple edited, but decided not to. It's why Nate was also on this list, why Rizzo is the second person we're talking about, and well, the third we'll be talking about should be pretty obvious, but more on her later. Rizzo also had a really strong premiere, garnering him 12 confessionals, the most out of anyone on the season, which falls in line with modern Survivor staples of winners having really good premieres. Finally, similar to Nate, Rizzo is established as a pretty core member of the majority. Sure, you could argue Shannon could also fulfill this role of likeable, consistently edited member of the Uli tribe, but Rizzo got his personal content introduced by himself unbroken. Shannon did get personal content in her prayer scene, but this was superseded, then hijacked by Nate to create his personal content, where he was realizing just how different his generation was. Plus, this is a bit of an out-of-the-box rationale, though I'm not referring to a certain season you're thinking of. I'm referring to Rizzo's name. His name is Rizgod, and he was hyped up pre-season as being the Rizgod, clearly alluding to the fact something big involving him will happen in this season to receive such a prestigious name. But now on to number 2. We have an individual that has had some phenomenal content with a lot of community hype. However, in spite of how incredible her edit is, I have noticed a potential flaw. So at number 2, well, I kind of already showed her off. It is, of course, Savannah. Yep, Savannah, believe it or not, is not my number 1. Perhaps this is me protesting pretty much all of my social media peers having Savannah likely at number 1, or perhaps I feel a little bit suspicious. But firstly, let's discuss the positives of Savannah because, oh boy, there are lots. Firstly, it's very clear she's given the underestimated lamb disguised as a lion storyline. Production love giving female contestants with longevity. This storyline was even seen in 41 with Erica, so there is definitely a winner precedent set. She's the only person to see through Shannon's nonchalant demeanor, is instantly in the majority with lots of options, and already has a lot of content revolving around her job, which, as discussed with Nate, is definitely a good sign for winner odds. Moreover, Savannah is one of the highest confessional getters, with some fantastic winner confessionals, such as turning from an island princess to a warrior princess, and the obvious one. The main issue is if Savannah is too obvious of a winner. It's something I'm honestly split on. You have to remember, Survivor have 2 different editing teams. Team A do the even-numbered seasons, and Team B do the odd. Team A seem to take a lot more risks in their editing, where we have a lot more flashy confessionals, the Survivor 46 premiere being a good example, with a lot more out-of-the-box winner edits. Cal winning was seen as a bit of a unicorn compared to Joe and Eva. Kenzie had an extremely villainous pre-merge that others like myself at the time thought were unrecoverable in terms of winner odds. Odd number Survivor seasons, sure they have the likes of Gabler and Erica and an early New Era Survivor, but Dee and Rachel had very positive by the numbers winner edits. Early on they were pegged as quite viable winners, so Savannah could definitely accompany them in that tier. It seems to be, especially nowadays, if you're watching an odd-numbered season, you expect a winner with a lot more content backing them, so we know their exact thought processes plus moves. But is it too obvious of a winner's edit? If Savannah were to win Survivor 49, it would be the most obvious winner edit in my opinion, and this is me saying it only 2 episodes deep, without even taking into account the quote-unquote external factors. I mean, one of Savannah's first confessionals is literally telling the audience she already has the million. Production do have a lot of incentive to hype up Savannah as a player, mind you, but I am apprehensive she could be set up as the face, but not necessarily the winner of the season. Kind of like Russell in Samoa, who was set up as the you should have won player. To give her this obvious of a winner edit feels a little fishy. I might have to drag in Shannon to give us a little prayer. On the topic of animals, there is something to be said about the established dragon, a contestant with a big edit in Modern Survivor, containing personal and social gameplay that could win, but is ultimately the catalyst when the actual eventual winner of the season claims their move. Think of Marianne taking out Omar, Dee blindsiding Emily by telling Julie about the plan to vote her out, as well as Rachel idling out Andy. One final slate, it's more of a nitpick than anything, is typically from Modern Survivor winners they face some sort of pre-merge conflict or adversity. Sometimes it's legitimate and sometimes it's a bit more manufactured, such as in Survivor 45, where I think the amount of dangerous seafood posted day was blown out of proportion. It's a pretty consistent dichotomy in pretty much every Modern Survivor season. Savannah doesn't have that, not yet anyway, unless you count Joanne accidentally filling her bag with sticks, a poorly veiled attempt at establishing her danger level. If so, there are 3 episodes still to go, mind you, 2 when you're probably watching this, so there is time, but there is also that slight bit of apprehension I have. Now, if Savannah were to win Survivor 49, trust me, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think anyone would be, but hopefully you can understand why I'm not willing to throw the towel quite in yet and hop aboard the Savannah Express. My number 1 pick, however, isn't from Hina, and they actually aren't from Uli. It's Kelly. Jeremiah exists, Alex has the most confessionals of the season, but I feel he is a little too out in front while being destined for a downfall. Jake I actually feel is an underrated player. I mean, hey, what can I tell you? A fellow bandit respects the bandit's game.
Bandit, I feel like you would have a lot to talk about the shoe bandit. for this
I'm the
episode.
better one, by the way.
There we go. The OG.
I'm getting doxxed here. I'm secretly Jake.
Despite having debatably the entire rest of the tribe being his number one, I feel Jake's snake attack could either weaken him into range of being mercy voted out by his tribe on account of the tribe already having dwindling numbers, a medevac, or at best, he's a boot somewhere around the final 9 to 6 by being too negative. Instead, I'm backing Sophie. No, not that one. The one we actually know. Sophie definitely is a risky choice for my number one. Her tribe has lost 2 challenges, and it seems Jake is closer to Alex if it comes down to it. That being said, I'm holding out for Sophie. Unlike other disaster tribes, I think Kelly has played optimally to retain their best challenge performers, and the last time a tribe has literally been reduced to 2 pre-merge without swaps was Survivor 41, so in spite of the bromancing forcing Sophie into a third wheel spot, I feel she should be fine to make it to the merge. Sophie also has a particularly peculiar edit to me, in that I feel production is shielding her. Her trying to hide the idol could have blown up in her face, and could have been put on par with Jake's villainous acts, but rather Sophie got to explain her strategy. The fact they also showcased her thinking outside the box, and even included the scene at all, was a massive boon to her overall edit. I also feel the move was terrible, since at least with Alex having the idol, you know where it is, and in a merge situation he might be willing to play it for a fellow Kelly, compared to nullifying it until the merge, and assuming it is re-hidden, having any person out of 12 find it. Even in the episode 2 challenge, they could have dunked on Sophie for failing the puzzle like many before her. Instead, we get a triple whammy of positivity. The show justifies Sophie failing the puzzle due to the extreme heat. Sophie is shown in an emotional underdog positive light due to her mess up, and she is even humanized by identifying how she might not be as good in the puzzle role as she first thought. Sophie is also the only person on this list to truly have pre-merge conflict, receiving a vote at the episode 2 tribal. Production also seemed to artificially increase the likelihood of a Sophie blindside by showcasing Alex literally telling Annie he could play as idol for her, then snipe Sophie out. A scene that didn't feel like it had to be shown, as it never comes into fruition. On the topic of Alex, the conflict between her and Alex seems to be very one-sided, similar to Dee versus Sifu. I feel if Alex is going to have his undoing, it's going to be at the hands of Sophie, and considering he is the most visible confessional count-wise, he could be very much set up as the dragon for Blue Sophie to slay. Add on to this the usual winner staples, such as consistent confessionals, a strong storyline, personal content, setting her up with her Latina heritage, as well as a consistent swing position constantly teased at. I do worry for Sophie in the immediate short term, and it would be remiss of me not to attribute her strong content in part to the fact her tribe is the only one to actually visit tribal council, but for now I'm putting my money on the entrepreneur. What do you all think? Do you agree with my takes, or much like NordVPN, do you wish I simply went incognito with my video essay? Let me know down in the comments below. Subscribe to become a rogue. We're so close to 4K subs. Have a good day. Peace!